Hi, this is Craig, and welcome to another episode of Cruising Off Duty. It's Canada Day, July 1st, so happy birthday to all the Canadians, and soon on July 4th, happy birthday to all our American viewers. We've got some extra special reasons to celebrate here in Canada because those crazy Canadian drone laws that I did an episode about, which was quite popular, about how absurd these laws were, has been watered down to a great degree and makes it so much easier for someone like me who has a YouTube channel who uses your drone for videography to show landscapes in the areas around my boat, because I have a sailing vlog and so generally that's where I was using it. Now these changes are going to make it so much easier. So let's just go through what the differences were. Before, without getting into my rant again, it was 9 kilometers around any aerodrome, which is anywhere a plane may take off or land, anywhere a helicopter may take off or land, and seaplanes, everything, 9-kilometer radius around that. That pretty much blocked out the entire city. On top of that, you had to be 75 meters away from people, buildings, vessels, vehicles, animals, which means like a squirrel. It was just crazy. So they pretty much, Transport Canada had pretty much outlawed drone flights in Canada without actually saying they've outlawed it, which I was really upset about and therefore made a video, which many of you have seen. So on June 24th, they quietly changed the rules. And there's a PDF on the Transport Canada website, which I'm showing you. I'll put a link below in case you want to go directly to it. So anyways, it's clearly marked and even highlights what's changed over the old rules. But here, I'll go through it. There's, in essence, 2 sets of rules now. Now there's rules for drones under 1 kilogram, such as my Mavic Pro, which is 750 grams, so 3/4 of a kilogram. And then there's slightly different rules for drones that are over 1 kilogram, up to 35 kilograms, which of course, this is 1.78 kilograms. So it falls under a harsher set of laws, and so does the very popular Phantom series. They are 1.38 kilograms. So under Transport Canada's rules, you sort of still fall under a harsher set of rules. Not as bad as they were before, and I'll get into that, but the real jump and improvement has been for the smaller drones. So all that means is everybody's going to start building, all the DJIs of the world and all the other companies, Unique, and all these other companies that make drones are just going to start making drones that are smaller and smaller. Because I got a funny feeling that this 1 kilogram or about 2.2 pound rule might kind of get adopted in the United States and in Europe. And so what will happen is the drone manufacturers have proven they can make very good drones like the Mavic under 1 kilogram. So that's all they'll do to get to the easier laws that you can fly your drone. So let's go through it. Before there was crazy laws, but let's just go into what the new laws were. The new laws are for under 1 kilogram is you only have to be 30 meters away from a vehicle, vessel, or people. That's it. They don't mention buildings, they don't mention animals anymore. So that's a big improvement, because before, if I wanted to take off, even in a rural environment, and I take off and I go over the trees and all of a sudden, whoa, there's some farm shed or shack or barn that I wasn't even aware was there, and now there it is right in my shot. Quite clearly I'm filming, and I was planning to put it on YouTube, with me flying near a structure, a building, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Like, same with animals. How am I going to control if a deer runs through a field when I'm flying? So they got rid of animals and they got rid of buildings as a restricted area, which that's great. Now that's 30 meters for these. It's still 75 meters for anything above 1 kilogram. So this and a Phantom still has a 75 meter radius around vehicles, vessels, or the public. Now, it says the public quite clearly in the more, but this is just a quick PDF. Behind the minutia of it, people doesn't include the operator of the drone and those involved in the operation of the drone. So if I bring my buddies out and I'm flying my drone and I decide, well, I call them spotters. If I glance down at my drone, and it's quite common to have this happen, you're looking at your drone, you see it perfectly, you glance down to look at the telemetry on your screen, you glance back up and now you can't see it. I don't know why, because it hasn't gotten any further away, but once your eyes are off of that dot in the sky, you can't find it again. But you've got a spotter, he keeps his eye on it. When you go, oh, where'd it go? He just points, over his shoulder at you. There it is. And you go, oh, I found it again. So spotters are helpful. And it says anybody involved in flying the drone. So that's the guy holding the controller and maybe a spotter or two, right? So that's great. So those people are not restricted in the 30 meter for this or the 75 meter for this. What I'm not 100% sure for my own purposes is vessels and vehicles. I'm assuming if the people involved in flying the drone are excluded under people, then obviously the vessel or vehicle that's involved with people flying it are also not restricted. I can fly off my own sailboat if I'm anchored and I want to fly from my sailboat around, pan the anchorage, then come back and land on my sailboat. That's my sailboat. So I'm pretty sure if I'm not restricted to fly near me, I'm also not restricted to fly near my own boat. So they don't really specify that, but I'm gonna read between the lines there. So 30 meters away from people, vessels, public, nothing about buildings anymore, nothing about animals, so that makes it easier, or 75 meters away from vessels, vehicles, and public. No worry about buildings anymore, no worry about animals. That's great news. So some of the other things that have been improved for both, now I won't have to get into the different weight categories. Instead of 9 kilometers away from any aerodrome, which before they said anywhere a plane may take off or land, anywhere a helicopter may take off or land, anywhere a seaplane may take off or land, you start putting 9-kilometer radiuses around any one of these areas, and you block out an entire urban area. So it made it impossible to fly. Now, from an aerodrome or airport, seaplane base, or other places aircraft will take off is 5.5 kilometers, which is a little bit more reasonable. And even better, helicopter pads, heliports are now 1.8 kilometers radius around, which still seems a bit much, maybe 1 kilometer, maybe half a kilometer, because helicopters take off this way. They don't take off forward and backward like a plane does. So I don't know why they need such a huge radius. We're still not allowed to fly above 300 feet, which is 90 meters. So a helicopter would take off and probably go above 90 meters if it was like a emergency helicopter, like the air ambulance or stuff like that. It should be up above 300 feet, most likely. But nonetheless, flying, if it's flying lower than that, what does it matter if the radius is 1.8 kilometers or half a kilometer? Because if he's flying at 200 feet off the ground for whatever reason, it's not going to matter if I'm flying 2 kilometers away at 300 feet and he runs into my drone. Anyways, long and short, they still made the radius 1.8 kilometers, which is a huge improvement over the 9 kilometers. So let's just, take a gift where we can get it. Obviously, when they've got such harsh rules and then they dial them back a bit, we think like, yay, the rules are better. But realistically, if these were the first rules, we would have been a little bit upset. But nonetheless, it's an improvement. We still have to be 9 kilometers away from any natural hazard, which is probably back to what they were talking about before, about forest fires and whatever other national disaster there is. Still 9 kilometers there. You still have to fly within 500 meters of yourself. It should just say line of sight, but it says within line of sight or 500 meters. So anyway, so I guess you're going to say 500 meters is the radius because most people can probably see 500 meters away. So this is the other thing that they didn't change, and I wish they would because it just seems so stupid. You have to still mark your name, address, and telephone number on your drone. And as you can see, I didn't do that on my drone because I use this for YouTube, and this thing often I film it landing. And no offense to my viewing public, but I don't really want my name, address, and phone number written on the side of my drone for YouTube to be disseminated to. So I'm okay with putting my phone number on it. If found, contact, and then put my cell phone number. And then if somebody does, if this goes down in some farm field and I can't find it for whatever reason, if the farmer finds it, he'll have a phone number he can call. If he has some reason to be upset and call the police can easily run the phone number and figure out who that registered phone is registered to. So a phone number should be sufficient to identify you. And if the government wants to do like the Americans and set up a website where we pay $5 or whatever it is like the Americans do, where you go on a website, you sign up, you say your name, address, phone number, you get an identification number, you stick that on your plane or drone, that works for me too. But I still would put my phone number because the registration number isn't going to help it. If it falls in a field and some guy finds it, he probably won't take the time to look up a registration number through some government agency. And they probably wouldn't give out the information anyway. So I would probably still put my phone number even if there was a registration number. So why not just cut down all that BS about having to set up a website and having the government manage it? Just say, have to identify your phone number of the owner of the drone on the side of the drone. Simple enough. Okay, so that's it. So pretty much mostly good news. Not to say this is still an interim order. So these laws are still they haven't been finalized yet, but this is a huge step forward. It's going to allow me to use my drone from my boat, and it's not that hard to stay 30 meters away from vessels, vehicles, or people. 30 meters is not far. In American, it's about 30 yards. So from that standpoint, staying 30 yards away from somebody is a lot easier than staying 75 yards away from everybody. So it's an improvement. Could it be better? Yes, but we'll take it. So good news. I'm sure every drone enthusiast out there, well, unless you have a big drone, then you're probably not that enthused. But if you have a smaller drone like a Mavic, good news. We can start flying again. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, I'll put this PDF link in the description below if you want to find out more. And this is going to mean I'm going to use my drone a lot more in the upcoming episodes. This summer, sailing the 1,000 Islands, I'll fly a lot more than you have seen in the last episodes. You'll notice there's not too many drone flights lately. Now there will be. So look forward to that. Subscribe if you'd like to follow the channel. Hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the information I gave you, give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you next time. And even if you're not sailing, you could be cruising your drone. So until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, do us a favor and give it a thumbs up. The next episode is already filmed and ready to be released. This time we go west and hit Loyalist Cove. We've just bought some folding bikes, so when we go into these towns on the shore, we're going to get to explore. And we're going to take you along with us. And good news on the drone front, the Canadian drone laws have been relaxed quite a bit, so the drone's going to be used even more in the future. So subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Special thanks to the Patreons that support the channel. Without them, I don't know if I could do this. Well, that's it for this episode. Until next time, this is Craig signing off, wishing you safe cruising.